So I would really appreciate it if everybody here also asked questions and ask questions for Chao after his presentation. So they kind of, they will be very strange questions. And the questions from the examiners are usually of the nature of why did you do this and what did you do? From a PhD candidate is expecting a different kind of question. How did you do that? So like a typical PhD candidate is thinking, oh, they're going to ask me how this algorithm works. How did I do this? How did I do that? No, that's generally not the kind of questions you get. There could be some, but the questions are usually, why did you do this? And what did you do? Not how did you do it. I think that's really emphasis. So there's going to be a lot of questions, usually, like obviously I can't predict the future 100% accurately, about why you did what you did. Yeah. And what did you do? Now, the questions about what you do are usually to figure out what did you do versus what did your co-authors do, or what did your supervisor do? Like, did you do this, or did somebody else do it for you? Those are the like, what did you do? Sometimes yeah. Questions like that. So. Okay, you're welcome to start, Chao.
Okay, everybody. My topic is geospatial visualization of population healthcare data. And first, we'll talk about the system structure. So in the introduction part, I will talk about what is data visualization and why we're using data visualization to analyze data. And then, in the related work part, we'll talk about a survey of the narrative visualization, including geospatial. Also, this chapter is based on the paper we previously published about storytelling. And then, for the following three chapters, we'll talk about the project I did in my PhD session. It's about cartogram tree map, time-oriented cartogram tree map, and the cartogram with features. All these three projects also based on previous paper we published. And then in the conclusion part, we'll talk about some key techniques we used for my project and future work. So in the introduction part, we first give some brief definition of the data visualization, and some different definition online. It's about data visualization is a general term that describes an effort to help people to enhance their understanding of data by placing it in a visual context. The reason why we're using data visualization is that it can help the user to figure out the undetected patterns, traits, or correlations on text-based data. We also present knowledge evolution patterns that help the user to solve the real-world problem from the beginning, the real-world challenge, to the final visualization cosmos. We also present some examples to explain it. And in the related work part, we talk about the survey of narrative visualization, including the geospace. We collect the amount of the narrative visualization papers and classify each based on our special classification and create that table. So as you can see from this table, you can see all the mature area and some unsolved area. So as you can see, the geospatial visualization is still and needs some more research. So that is also another motivation for our geospatial project. And also from this table, you can see the requirement of our project that helps the user to increase their memorability and comprehension of the data. And then I will talk about the 3 projects I did using the demo video. So at the very beginning, I want to talk about the data first. So the data is collected by the National Health Care Service based on the clinical commission group. So it's around 209 clinical group in England. So they collect a large amount of data about this in this region about different kinds of health care disease. So in our project, we just analyzed 14 different kinds of disease. So should start. And
Are you connected to the internet?
No, I just need to back up. So we collect geospatial information and input it in software called QGIS and convert the central point and input it in your system. Then we increase the size of the node. As you can see here, we enable the user to choose the maximum size of the unit, and when the maximum size increase, the space filling of the output is also increased. Then they also have some options for increase the speed of the cartogram. After the cartogram generates, we try to draw some tree map which represents all the healthcare data in each single node. Also, the size of the regions can be mapped to some static values. In this case, it's the population. One of the advantages of the tree map is you can introduce another more hierarchy in the data. So we group the CTG into based on its area code. So in this output, you have just around 21 regions in the output, so that you can also see the detailed view. And then we present some static table to see how much the output fills the space and how much the layout errors. There is always some trade-off between the layout errors and the space filling percentage. So as you can see, when you try to increase the size of the node, the percentage of space filling is increased. Also, the layout errors is increasing. Sorry. The static tables also worked when the size of region mapped to the population. Also, we visualize to see the layout errors. So if there the corresponding position has been changed between two nodes, after the cartogram generates, we connect a line. So you can see there are several lines in here. We compare these errors with the most worst case and calculates the percentage of the errors. Also, we provide some color map and running different color map and running options. We also present some focus and context visualization that help the user to focus on what they want. So there are some filters to show above the average or below the average. So you can figure out some interesting finding from different filters. So you can say those regions are also attributes is below the average. Also, we enable the user to select one or more attributes only that can focus on the information they want. So you can figure out some interesting observation from this view. After we finish our software development, we can create a narrative visualization based on the observation we found. So we can see the hypertension is the most popular disease in UK, and so also we can figure out some area with some highest particular disease. For example, the diabetes in Brentford, also the kidney disease in Nottingham. Also mental health in Alston. Also the filter works for the area group outputs, and you can figure out the London area is generally healthier than other places, with the exception of mental health and diabetes. And the northwest regions is generally higher than average in most health disorder. So here, this is the first project, the cartogram tree map. Then we think about to increase another attribute like the time to this project to show not only 1 year, but a few years, and you can see the trees. So here's the second project. So we use the bar chart to represent the different years. As you can see, the category generated algorithm is not changed, but inside the bar chart, you can see inside the tree map, you can see 3 bar charts to represent the 3 different years. So you can see the increase or decrease trade from that, but the difference in this kind of bar chart is not quite clear. So we provide some other bar chart options. For example, just show the change only or the symmetric bar. So in this kind of bar chart, the difference is not only shown on the top, but also on the bottom. So if you found this it's also not quite clear, you can use the change only. So it just shows the change between each year. So the difference is kind of huge. Also, we provide any combination of these 2 options. So there are comparison between these 3 different bar charts. So also we provide some other filter options that help the user to focus on what's their interest. For example, just the increase only. And the difference only ones. You can find out some interesting patterns. For example, in the decrease only part, you can see the heart disease is kind of decreasing almost everywhere except the central. And the hypertension is decreasing in the central London and the middle. Yeah. Also, we provide some animations that help the user to focus on increase only and decrease only. So from left to right is the increase trade, and from the right to left is the decreasing trade. Also, this animation can combine with other different type of bar chart. Also, the animation can be shown on one small tree map, the detail view. So you can see the animation from left to right is increase, and from right to left is decrease. And also the animations can combine with different type of bar. We also developed line chart as other options for showing the trees. So here is the basic line chart. And by using the change only, you can see the line chart more clear. And this can also combine with the filter options. And this is decrease only. We also have some other options that let user to see just 1 year detail. So it's kind of like the last project. As this time the map is generated based on the information of just 1 year. So you can select between each year. Also, in this case, you can select just select the attribute you want and regenerate the tree map. So it's different with the previous project. So you can see the size of each attribute is increasing. So this time it only has the full node. So the tree map is different. Here is the 2 project. It's a second project, and based on the software I developed for the time-oriented cartogram, I also can generate some narrative visualization based on the observation. But it doesn't show on the videos, it's on the thesis chapter. Here is the third project I did. Because the cartogram we generated for previous 2 projects, I think is still some the error is huge. Not huge, but there's still some error. So we're thinking to how to increase the recognizability of the map and kind of reduce the error. So we're thinking to introduce some other geospatial information. So like the rivers, if the river can be some catastrophe for the map, no regions can cross the river, maybe it can increase the recognizability of the map. So we're thinking to introduce at least 1 river. We use the Thames River as a starting point. So here you can see on this software, I import the Thames River information. So we using the powerful node to try to define the river in our system. So here you can see 2 different nodes on each side of the river can be paired to definite one segment of the river. So we kind of choose a list of the powerful node and import it in our system. So we connect the line of the powerful node and use a central point of each line to create the river. So this time I did generate the cartogram with a previous algorithm, so no river constraint include. So you can see there are several errors around the river. So it's cross the river after generates the cartogram. So if we using the river constraint this time, you can see the river has been, the region around the river has been pushed because it cannot cross the river by our algorithm. So in this time, we didn't use the tree map. We're just using one attribute to show one healthcare disorder. In this case, the size of the region is mapped to its population. Also, from this map, you can see some errors. And with our topological preservation algorithm, you can see the region is being pushed because it cannot cross the river. So the output will be no error. Also, the colors is mapped to one single healthcare disorder, but you can select any information you want. So in total, there are 14 different healthcare disorders. And in this case, we not only test when the region crosses the river, we test if the distance between a region node and the river is less than a user size amount, so the region will be pushed. So in this case, we set the distance is 10 pixels. So you can see the pushing happens when the distance is less than 10 pixels.
No, I think it's.
So have to price it for one series stop. So and in the conclusion part, I'll talk about the key technique we use. So all the my project implement is based on C++ and the Qt platform. So we use Git for version control, and we use QGIS for other spatial information conversion. And for the future work, first in the survey part, we figure out from the table, we figure out several unsolved problems as that can be researched on. And for our project, we are thinking to include more category color map and more filter options. and also includes some other hierarchies like the population ages, or the male, female, and for the feature part, we kind of want to include more typological features like more rivers or roads or mountains or highway or something. So yeah, so that's it. Thank you for attention.
Okay, any questions for Chao about his thesis? Liam?
Why did you combine cartograms with geospatial information? Oh, sorry, tree maps. Yes.
Yeah.
Tree maps.
So, as I say, I want to include some geospatial informations and some hierarchical, some multivariate informations, because there are several different attributes that AI has collected. So, the best way to one of the best way to include geospatial information is using the cartogram, because you can figure out all the details compared with the original map. Because, for example, the linear area is quite narrow, you can't see anything, so you have to resize this map by using the cartogram. And then, if you want to include some multivariate information, you can use some several visualization options. But if you want to include some more hierarchy information like the group area, I think the tree map is the best options. Yeah, so that's the original thinking, we think, to combine the category with the tree map. Yeah.
Following on from that,
Yeah.
what hierarchy do you have in your tree maps?
Currently, we just have in the first hierarchy, I have the 14 different diseases, and another hierarchy, we can group the CCG regions based on its area. Yeah, we're thinking if we can introduce more hierarchies, is about the single clinical practice information in the single disease column. So yeah, you can introduce that's information.
Currently, you don't actually have any hierarchy in your tree maps, though, do you?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just the multivariates without the hierarchy,
You
basically.
did show an example.
Yeah, I just showed
but
why
The most of the examples, though, didn't have a hierarchy. They just
No, one of the examples did have a hierarchy.
Yeah, only one.
only
Yeah.
one.
Yeah. That was just.
Yeah.
Let's revise that answer. You have the hierarchy is the UK at the top.
Yeah.
That's the highest level, the root node or the parent node. The second or the next level are the CCGs.
So
Yeah.
That's also
And then the next level are the prevalence values. So you have a 3. It's not a very exciting hierarchy, but it's a 3-level hierarchy.
Only the prevalence is shown in the tree map.
so
But the rest are still
yeah,
shown.
we can think
That is the hierarchy, though,
Yeah.
the cartographic tree map. And then he shows one example with an additional level, which is grouping the CCGs together in different regions.
Yeah.
You have to know that, by the way. That's a good question.
Yeah.
Also, let's talk about a little bit. There's one thing that Liam asked a very good question too, the combination.
Yeah.
There's one thing that you want to also mention, which is the space-filling properties of tree maps.
Yeah.
That is kind of one of the original inspirations. So cartograms are not space-filling.
Yeah.
Tree maps are. And is there a way to combine the advantages of both? So that's kind of. Please remember those. Those are very good questions, and I even have them on my list here.
Actually, I also have this on my list.
If you're worried, create a slide. create a slide with the question in the title
Yeah.
and the answers in the content, on the slide itself. You may as well. You know you're going to get those questions, so.
Yeah, I could create some question
Yeah,
slide, but I didn't create the answer.
yeah. Create a question at the top, answers in the.
I'm just reminding the
Yeah.
some questions.
Well, it's good to think about the questions. Yeah. Any other questions?
Why a squarified tree map?
Squarified tree map. I thought you will ask about the ordinary tree map, but anyway, I think about it. So, because the reason why I want to combine this cartogram and the tree map is try to combine the different the same information with different regions. So we want to know how to compare with others. So by using the square tree map, all the particular prevalence is on the same position of the map, so you can easy to compare, because if it's not quite square, you can not see the works. So it's not easy to compare, right?
I don't actually know if that's how a squarified tree map works. Is it always in the same order?
Your question is, you know, you can get questions that don't make full sense.
Yeah,
as
that was my plan. It was just a matter of opinion.
There's nothing wrong with that question,
Yeah.
because some questions will be can be a little bit left field, so to speak.
Yeah.
But like, when I heard that question, there are different interpretations. One interpretation is, well, we want the space filling advantages of squarified tree maps.
Yeah.
Another interpretation is, do you mean as opposed to other kinds of tree maps,
That was
like
the plan.
slice and dice or something
Yeah,
like that?
that was what I meant. It was mainly a trick question, because I would say I don't think there's a lot of research on comparing them, as we've discussed before, so it's mainly just opinion.
So actually, the answer is that you don't use squarified tree maps, actually. You're not using them. You're using something called an ordered tree map, which maintains the order of the prevalence values.
This is useful.
The CCG regions are unit areas, like you said, for comparison purposes.
So it doesn't actually say what type of tree map it is in the papers. And I was trying to cite his papers, and I couldn't find it.
It doesn't say the layout algorithm anywhere?
No.
I think it does, actually.
I
got the thing here. I thought we had that in there.
He says square tree maps. Well, I don't know if he says the thesis. He says square tree maps, but he didn't cite anything.
No, I
So I stopped talking about
also,
it.
I even said the algorithm in my thesis, I think.
It can easily be replaced with different tree maps anyway, isn't it? I
Yeah.
guess you can use.
That's why it was a trick question.
Yeah, to just have a different.
Yeah, you could try a different one. It's not limited.
Oh, I remember now. You're right, actually. That was a thing we took apart, that we took out of the paper because of space,
Yeah, but
to save space. Hopefully it's in your thesis. But I remember, like, since it's not a central contribution, like the tree map layout part.
If it is in your thesis, can you send me your thesis so I can get the correct citation for the original?
Yeah, I think it sounds well, but I found some other ones.
Okay, it's in a thesis, it's 334, ordered tree map algorithm.
Is there a citation?
Well,
This one? No.
Yeah, the strip tree map algorithm of Besson et al. Is described below. So yes, there is a citation 85.
Is that the same one? You've got ordered tree map, but then it turns to strip tree map.
Well, strip and ordered are the same as far as strip is
Okay.
a kind of ordered.
Different reference number.
So here it is, ordered in quantum tree maps, making effective use of 2D spaces. display
Create
hierarchies.
rectangles
Yeah,
or visual.
that's the one.
Yes.
This one presents two.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
178 was right. Right. Could you send that to me?
Yeah.
after, please?
That's strange, we have different numbers.
Yeah, because I update some other.
Okay. Okay. Those are good questions, though. Any other?
I have a question in my total ignorance. Who's this software for? Like, who's supposed to be using this kind of?
Actually, I think this software is for the some people on the medical side.
Is it like analytics experts or is it?
Actually, we got some domain expert feedback.
Alright.
So to look at this software and to give us some advice about what it look like. Does it help them to analyze this kind of data correctly? So we got some got some sections to about the domain feedback in chapters 3 and chapter 4 for the tree map, Cartograms tree map part. Yeah, that.
I would say that's correct what you said. So it's for analysts that are studying population healthcare data, and there are quite a few of them in the School of Medicine, and this was developed in collaboration with a few of them.
Okay.
You can also say, like, anybody, it could be used by anybody because the data is mapped to geospace, that it's accessible to a
Yeah, I
wider
was
audience.
wondering because like a tree map is maybe a less common kind of representation compared to a line chart or a bar chart.
Yeah.
So I saw the other options and I
Yeah.
saw the tree map at first, so I thought,
Mm-hmm.
starting with that, maybe
Mhm.
it's more for domain experts than general public. That was my question.
Yeah, that's much better.
The simple questions are very good, by the way, because some of the questions you'll get are going to be very simple
Yeah.
and fundamental.
Can I ask you something?
Yeah.
You use tree map and like bar charts, and then
Yeah.
you use some line charts to represent the difference by the year. Like your bar charts representing only 1 year, or I mean, my question is, can you see the difference without using line charts? So why did you use line charts?
Yeah. When you try to introduce the time and when you try to show the time and want to understand about trade, so there are two very common options that for that. So if you want to show time different bar charts, is always a good choice. But another option is line chart. So if you show the different time nodes on the draw different time node on the map, you can see the trade quite easily. So, but it's not quite like the bar chart. It can combine with the tree map. But using the line chart, you can only show the trade. But so it's kind of messed up. So we focus on the bar chart because it's following the tree map design patterns. Because we want to use the line chart as an additional options for the users. If they like the line chart most, they can use the line chart. But the mailing project is on the tree map and bar chart. Right.
It's not a bad answer. If I was answering the question, I would answer it slightly differently.
Yeah.
I would say, we tried some experiments to extend the cartographic tree map design to include time.
Yeah.
And we started with the most naive possibility, which was the bar charts, 1 bar per year.
Yeah.
Just and then we tried to make improvements based on the most naive,
Yeah.
which included the gradient, the symmetric bar charts, the gradient-oriented bar charts. But we thought, okay, the bars are difficult to see. Maybe it's better with line charts. Maybe it's more perceivable with line charts. And that's the idea. So you would describe it as an experiment, starting with the most naive thing, and then trying to make incremental improvements along the way afterwards. Just like how it was in reality, in my opinion. And that answer will kind of cover lots of different questions about that whole part of your thesis.
I have a question. I don't know if it's a legit question or you would ask, but what do you think is the most interesting finding out of this experiment? Like, what is the thing that struck you the most?
Because it's the house data, what you want to know, really want to know is which area has the most house problem, which area is most unhealthy. So maybe the government can help to invest money on that. So some of the funding observations about that. So which area is generally unhealthy, and also if some funding observations like is there some kind of patterns you can figure out from the map. So for example, the regions around sea is generally healthier than other people. If you can figure out some observation like that,
so the people living around the coast are actually unhealthier?
No. Just for one specific disease, I think I include it in my.
Is that a respiratory disease?
I thought respiratory disease was better on the coast.
Astral
Yeah.
disease is around coast is. So, if you can find anything special from the map, I think it's worth to examine the reason. For example, why London is much healthier. These regions.
I think you're looking for page 115. Well, at least in my version of the thesis.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not yours.
I just need a filter. Yeah, at least the US map. That's not clear. I just. Sorry. Okay.
It's okay.
I just use this map. So, if you just select the astrum, you can see there are some patterns around here. I think because I don't currently have those outputs, but anyway, for example, for this observation, if you just select the one attribute, you can figure out the most unhealthy place. In this case, is Bradford, I think. It's not help. So, whenever you found something unspecial, something special, you can figure out the reason and figure out why that happened, and is there some way to solve this problem? I think that's the motivation of the project. Yes.
That's surprising. I thought, like, for asthma and everything, being on the coast was better.
Actually, I can't remember the result.
No, it's fine. Just wondering.
I'm taking notes, by the way, which I'd like you to look at afterwards. I'm putting stars next to questions that I would recommend preparing a slide for.
Yeah.
Both of Carlos' questions I expect to be asked during the Viva. Like, who is this for?
Yeah.
And what did you learn?
Yeah.
You may as well prepare slides for these questions. There's
Yeah,
a very, very high probability that these questions are going to be asked. So you have the observations nicely written in your thesis, what you learned and stuff like that. In my version, it's 115. I think it's similar here. Why not prepare some slides? I recommend just preparing some slides because you know that's coming.
Yeah.
Say, here are some of the things we learned. You know, here's an observation, here's the supporting figure. And do like 5 of them. You know, do one slide for each observation and blow away the examiners. Like, be like, whoa, I can't believe he has 8 slides prepared for that question, you know, like.
Okay. Yeah.
Because it's coming. That question is definitely coming.
Yeah.
Are the examiners all from the field, or are they?
They're computer scientists.
Oh, computer
2
science.
computer scientists, yeah.
With your time-oriented tree maps with the bar charts in, has that combination of bar chart with tree map been used before somewhere? Or was it something you developed in the project?
Yeah, I think we will first try to include the time. I was thinking how can we do that, and we will see the tree map. And so can we add something more? So because the tree map is kind of square tree map, so in each note we can really thinking about using the bar chart is a really good way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, as I said, I just didn't think of it until I saw it now. I thought, okay, it's actually a combination we used before, so if you developed it on your own, it sounds quite good.
I think we did some research about tree map and Cartogram and look at the papers. We didn't see any, even all this tree map including the time, and we didn't see any papers combine the time and the tree map together. Yeah.
Yes, I would say the same thing. The answer is no, we didn't see that anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where would you say your time-oriented tree map, where would it fit in your classification of your survey?
Yeah. I like that question.
Good question.
Actually, in our survey, we talk about the narrative visualization, which is the kind of the cutting-edge techniques in visualization, and that have some benefits for the visualization development, which helps user to increase their memorability or something. So that's the original motivation we do the survey, and we figure out the geospatial part needs some more research. So that's our project is based on geospatial, and after we develop the software, we can convert this software to some authoring tools, use some translation or animations to show the result to the users using the narrative visualization. Right, kind of like that.
Does that answer your question?
More or less. So yeah, like you said, you kind of almost went that way from the survey, isn't it? So well, I can't remember what your categories were. Obviously, you had geospatial. You said interpretation was one of them.
Yeah. So for example, in this table, I use some classification. The first 2 or 3, first of all, have described how the users can generate narrative visualization from the original software or data site. So how to create narrative visualization. And the last 3 parts describe how that narrative visualization will help the user to like the increase variability or help the user engage the data. Yeah.
So you're aiming for those last 3 somewhere then?
Yeah.
So where would you put it today?
So, I mean, by generating our software, we figure out some observation. We try to using the narrative visual way to generate. If you talk about the time origin cartogram, I will. Yeah, I didn't include the narrative part in the demo videos, but we have it in the chapter. So there is some narrative findings we found. So we'll, based on our software, we'll talk about those observation one by one. So like the storytelling section. Yeah.
So just where would you, if you were doing a survey again, which spot would you put it in the table, in the classification table?
I think
the geospatial column.
I think I can put it everywhere. Fill all the column. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it does kind of.
Yeah, because I think this kind of, from my perspective, I think it's kind of engage the users and it's direct how to create the visualization. So maybe for the narrative and answering tools. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not quite sure.
If I were you, I would just say in the geospatial column and in memorability, the memorability category. Because you know in your survey, there is evidence that including geospace in a visual design increases memorability. There's a paper on that subject.
Yeah.
So just put it in there. Say that's one of the possibilities.
Yeah.
Say that's one possibility.
Yeah.
If you want, you could go further on. Like if they ask for more follow-up questions and they want more detail, then you could say, okay, well, it's not a perfect fit in memorability. It could also go in engagement because geospatial maps are very engaging.
Yeah.
How do you know that geospatial maps are engaging? By the way,
is there some paper talk about
Because more or less everybody has used a map or has a map.
That's kind of right. It's basically because when you see data journalism, it's always on a map. The maps are always there. Like that's the bar charts don't appear in magazines and newspapers and in popular data journalism, but maps certainly do.
Yeah.
You probably realise people just don't look at the maps anymore. Really, isn't it?
Yeah, it's. Okay, how about this question, which is very similar to Dylan's. This is I have a star next to this one. I would prepare a slide for it. It's a very good likelihood. Your literature review chapter doesn't fit perfectly with the thesis.
Why?
Why not? Something like that.
Well,
A cool question.
It won't be that direct, probably.
Because it wasn't really a question, it was like, doesn't fit.
Yeah. Right, it's not, they won't say it in that direct manner, but basically, you want to have an answer prepared for this theme, and probably with a slide.
Yeah, I think what's the relation, like the narrative world and how it clicks with your work?
Yeah. Actually, I did prepare for that question, but I'm not sure it's a good answer. So, from the introduction part, we talk about what is digital visualization and why we're using digital visualization. So, the benefit of the visualization is trying to help the people to solve the real world problem. And so, if when we came across the same problem, we want to analyze the data. We want to see what has happened for the NHS. So for the different CCG regions in UK. So we have to choose some topic of the visualization, and as I said, narrative visualization is a cutting-edge technique in visualization area. So we choose the narrative visualization as a starting point and try to do a survey on it. And based on our findings, geospatial part is really needs some more research, and it's quite fit for our project. So also by doing this survey, we can figure out the whole process of how to create a narrative visualization. And you have to start from the very original data and create some software and generate a narrative visualization based on the observation you found and present the results to the users. So the whole process is we can see it is a narrative visualization, so it's quite fit our project. And also, for the benefits we found when we summarized the narrative visualization paper, we found the benefit of this kind of technique that can help the user to increase the memorability and to increase the engagement. So that's also our purpose for analyzing the data. So I think the survey is kind of fit our project.
You want me to give you a score from 1 to 10? Okay, that is one answer. You can give that answer if you want to. I wouldn't, but you can. Just tell the truth, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Was he lying?
Tell the truth. We have no idea where it's connected.
You started to you did say some things like that were good, and you said some things that were true. I would just say straight up, I would say it's true. The literature review chapter does not fit the thesis perfectly.
Yeah.
And the reason is the following. We wanted to write a survey paper on an interesting topic that we thought was publishable.
Yeah.
And we thought that storytelling, survey and storytelling visualization would be a nice contribution to the visualization field. And we started to work on that immediately before we finalized the research direction of the actual thesis. And so the research direction came after a considerable amount of work was invested into the survey. Yeah. So there's some divergence there. That's why there's some divergence. And then you say, however, we can classify our work in the survey table, just like Dylan asked. Yeah. It does fit. It fits in the geospatial column under memorability and engagement. So they do fit together, but they're a little bit divergent. The divergent comes from the origin of the two directions.
Yeah.
They didn't start at the same time, they didn't flow in a linear order, you
Yeah.
know, that's the reason. I would just say it's straight out, you know, like that.
Why wouldn't it fit narrative geospatial? Isn't like a visualization of NHS data on a map kind of a narration anyway?
Yeah, an argument can be made in that direction as well. I guess it depends on how the examiners see it, but if you want there to be a perfect fit, the evaluation of say your cartographic tree map has to be based around a narrative. It has to be based around a memorability experiment or based around an engagement
Because I thought
experiment.
that basically anything that is done in infobase is kind of a narrative. When you have like socio-economical data, it's always like kind of a narrative. While flow business ideas might be different, because when you visualize like a scout, something is not really a narrative of anything.
I would say it's a lot easier to say it's a narrative visualization if it has temporal data. So even if you had something like flow, if it moved, if it was animated in such a way, you could say that's a narrative showing it the flow.
That's another question really, isn't it? What's your definition of narrative visualization?
Yeah, I took it more in a journalistic sense, I guess. But it makes sense. Like if you have time, you basically have a narration of some kind anyway.
Like recording in such a way that you found this and then this and then this, you could consider that narrative. But those can also be discrete.
Because when he said like some of the conclusion, he said like Brantford has this, Nottingham has that. That's basically like to me a newspaper article. Like I could see it published. Like the new narrative is the Northwest is the most.
Oh right, yeah, I see.
No, that way I saw it that way. So I thought, oh, it's definitely a narrative.
Narrative, how we discovered this? How did you start from the beginning till you get this discovery? This is the narrative. This is at least what I understand.
Okay, so
If it's just, I'm not sure. Narrative, I think it includes, should include some pipelines, starting from kind of, and then you customize. I think this is something you already have.
Yeah.
You have some kind of filtering to guide the user till you reach some discoveries.
There are some different type of narrative visualization. For example, the linear, you talk the story from the very beginning to the end, or some interactive, like the user to choose which part they want. So I think if we generate the observation results first, we can generate a linear narrative visualization based on it. So it just shows the users all the observation from beginning to the end. So like the users can able to see all the details. So I think that our work can be linear. Yeah.
I guess it depends on how you interpret the question.
Yes, I think that's a good answer. You may as well prepare a slide called "What is narrative visualization?" You may as well do it, because there's a good chance that question is going to come up.
Well, I assume that people are going to read it and know that narrative visualization is more akin to storytelling, whereas Carlos didn't know that because it's referred to as narrative in the slides.
Yeah, no, that's why I didn't read the paper, so.
That's fine.
Yeah.
So
You
Then
could.
you know what storytelling.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It might be easier to just say we use narrative in a similar vein as storytelling, and then define storytelling because that's in your paper.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you may as well have a slide prepared for that, because in case it comes up, because it's such a gray issue. On the slide, I would say there is currently no consensus on a definition for storytelling or narrative.
Yeah.
However, here are some papers that discuss this, and here is a definition from one of the papers.
Yeah, I can remember the slides.
Yeah. So yeah, you may as well have it prepared.
Yeah.
Because in fact, you almost have no choice. Because if one of the examiners decides that they're not happy until you spit out a concrete definition of narrative visualization, then you're in trouble.
Yeah.
You know, you have to have something that you can, you know, and then you can, in your slide, you can say, refer to page whatever it is in the thesis for the definitions, and then you can get out that page. But you don't want to be sitting there scrolling through your thesis going, oh, where is that definition again? Where is that? You just have a citation to the page number, copy and paste it in there, and say there's a discussion of this on page blah, blah, blah of the thesis. And here's the paper that discusses that there is no consensus. Like there's a published paper that we put in, like in version 2 of the survey, that says it's a paper just about the definition of storytelling. Like the whole paper is about that. So I would recommend having a slide prepared for that discussion.
So my question is, can I include a lot of answer slides? Like, I think it's kind of like cheating, so I didn't.
Definition
That's
slide.
not cheating, it's called
You put all the
preparation.
definitions down.
It's called preparation.
Yeah.
You don't show them during your presentation, they're just waiting there for during the examination time.
So yeah, that's.
I think you already have your thesis with you, so it's okay, I think, to show up as it. And the slides are open.
I would be
Think of it
I
this
ask
way,
a
if-
question and someone already. It's basically like QI when they answer a question, the buzzer goes, and you just feel
Yes.
like, oh, was that obvious? You know,
Yeah,
you ask the
you'll be
question,
very
you're writing
impressive. Yeah, if one of the questions comes up and you say, oh, I have a slide for that, they'll be like, whoa.
So
Like, that's the first time they will have ever seen that in their entire lives, probably. They're like, what? You have a slide prepared for that? Good, you know.
yeah, I can do that.
But yeah, I was thinking that maybe someone would be like, oh, let's see if you have a slide prepared for this.
Yeah, they start going real deep.
That's a very obscure question.
That's a very obscure question. I answer it in my thesis. What page? You don't have to find out for yourself.
I mean, you could even take a screenshot of the page, you know, instead of preparing bullet points, you could be like, oh, here it is, page 38, I'm going to take a screenshot and just put it.
Ironically,
Like-
that seemed less like a cheat. I'd literally just been like, I knew you'd say that. Well, here it is. I wrote it in the thesis. Yeah.
Okay, I have a question.
Yeah.
It's in regard to animation.
Yeah.
Is it useful? Did you discover anything just by the animation?
I don't have slides for the answers, but I have slides for the questions. I think about that. I don't know. Actually, I don't know how it's useful. I think if the animation combined with the filter, you can see some focus on just one trait. It's useful to. I have another answer for that. So I think the animation is a good way to engage the user to look at the data. So if they saw these animations, they may increase their memorabilities. So when after a long term, they can recall the information. So maybe at least they can attract people to look at this software. So wow, this animation, so it's maybe interesting.
Have they attracted any
I
observation? This is
actually.
because we talked with Bob. I think there is a survey about animation, and I'm not sure if it's about animation specifically, but they it's not usually the good way to. So I think maybe some of the review are.
Animation, I think, isn't it one of those things that is very, very, very controversial? And
Yes.
like I remember Daniel when he was doing the course on InfoVis, visual analytics. It was like there are certain people that if you ask them, they'll say never animate anything. Animation is the devil, and there's other people who will animate a bar chart and everything in between. So, can you say that it's an extra feature, like that, does it hurt the software in any way? Like,
I was going to say, when we tested with the medical people, we noticed something because of the animations, because they contrast with each other. It was very easy to point out.
Well, this is the confusing, because when I see I think animation is great if you have like 3 views and they are moving, you can see. But I'm a normal guy. I with the overview and they are like shifting at the same time. I will not get any like. But when he opened one view with the animation, it's great.
Well, that was
like
the idea.
In the focus.
Like when they're ascending, it goes one way, and then when it's descending, it goes the other way.
Yes.
And because most of them will group up and follow the same pattern, when something doesn't, it looks wrong. But the fact that it looks wrong makes you interested, and so you click it, and you can see the detailed view.
That's a very good answer. It's a very good answer.
But I was just basing it because you said you didn't know if it was ever useful. I remember being in the. I don't remember who it was with. It was in one of the meetings with some medical people.
Damon Barrage, maybe.
Maybe, but I remember pointing that out then. It was like right when we were deciding what to do for his next topic.
plus, like, we had this discussion similar recently when you shared that thing about guns and everything. Wouldn't it, like, every medium in which you can share things has gone into incorporating videos, like Instagram itself went from pictures to mainly now like being pictures and videos and everything. So isn't that like a testimony to memorability and the fact that you can share it and the fact that it is narrative itself?
Yeah. It kind of builds the narrative, isn't it?
Yeah, like isn't the medium as well, like the suitability to medium of sharing information kind of part of memorability? Nobody's gonna memorize it unless they see it.
Yeah, I mean, the answer you gave was quite good, actually. You said, we think that it's effective if you turn on animation and filtering at the same time. I think that's a very good answer. If I was answering this, I would, again, go back to that generic thing I said about the bar charts and the line charts. And go back to the beginning and say, well, the time-oriented cartography for tree maps is essentially a series of experiments. Yeah. That's essentially what it is, that chapter, where we started with the bar charts, then we tried the different variations of the bar charts and line charts, and seeing all the information in a static image, it felt like too much information or too high of a density, and we just had this idea, let's animate it and see if some of the information, like Liam said, pops up, like in a pre-attentive style, because animation there's an association between animation and pre-attentive processing. We never talked about that, actually. And we had, at least I was thinking, maybe, just like Liam said, some of the things that are outliers, like going left, will pop up and stick out as soon as everything starts moving. But even with the animation, it was very dense. So, like you said, you'd have to turn on animation and filtering if you really want things to jump out. And then you can conclude by saying that's future work. Like a more thorough investigation and evaluation of the animation is future work. A user study, for example.
Gotta check that one in.
Yep.
The catch-all.
Yep, it is. It is. It's a very good catch-all. Yeah. So that's a good question.
That fits in the interpretation section of the thing.
Yeah, and I think it's definitely true, that it increases engagement. The animation increases engagement. Maybe we don't have scientific experiment to back that up, but you can say.
Or couldn't we just say TV killed the book, basically? Anything that is animated or art is just more engaging.
Yeah, like you can cite some examples, you know, of viral animations and things like that. Like one example is Hans Rosling's, you know, evolution of the world's populations.
Yeah, population GDP, the one with
Yeah, he takes a bubble chart, and just because it's animated, it's been viewed millions and millions of times. It's only because it's animated. If it wasn't, it would get, you know, normal 10 views like everybody else, but...
Well, yeah, I think there's... Animation is... It's a feature, but sometimes if you implement it badly, it might sometimes lead to wrong answers, sometimes it might be not good. This is what I mean by...
So that's true, yeah.
Some of these like the static images as well.
Yeah.
That's true, yeah.
You know,
Any effects, I think, in them, it's like...
But isn't the thing with animation that is kind of like, it's more passive in the way that you don't have to actually concentrate on reading the data itself, you could just focus on the changes. It's basically like a book and a movie, right? A book is very active, you need to concentrate on everything, while when you watch it, that information is being thrown at you and you just need to absorb it and analyze, so you can focus on actually analyzing the data rather than reading it.
Yeah. I mean, in the ideal world, Chao, you would get a sense, you would try to use your instinct. Is this audience of two people, do they like animation? Like Carlo said? Or are they against it, or are they for it? You know, if they're for it, you can talk about it, but if you can see, oh, I have two examiners here that both hate animation, you'd be like, well, you know what? That's a valid point. It's a user option. You can turn it off, and it's really an area that's for future work. And then move on. You know what I mean? Like, just move on. Like, these people don't like animation. Let's just say it needs further investigation, and we can turn it off. But if you get the feeling that they like it, then you can talk about it some more. Like, yes, it's effective if you turn it on and then add filtering. It's also engaging, and so on. So that's another, some possibility at least. I don't think this audience will be like strongly against animation. I don't know for sure. But yes, like Carlo said and Dan said as well, some people are very strongly against it. And they say the reason is, some people argue strongly that animation is bad for analysis.
Yeah.
But you can also argue the other way, that it's very good for presentation and engagement and exploration.
He had this GIF in his slides where it was like a series of dots, and you couldn't tell exactly what the image was. And as soon as you animate it, he sees a man walking.
Okay.
It's a really,
that's
it's
cool.
a really cool GIF, so you might just check it in.
That is pretty cool, yeah. And Dylan was a skeptic, I think, until recently about animation.
But I would love it, like, they were completely against him. They said, I don't really understand why you would put animation. He said, I know, right? It's just that some people really like it, so I thought, I'll put a user option, they're gonna be happy, but the rest is all static.
Yeah. There is a paper in your survey, by the way. There is a paper in your survey that's all for animation, saying saying it's very beneficial and so on, and it's good for user engagement and user interaction. So it was a Kai paper, actually, from a long time ago, like 1995 or something. I don't remember the name of it. But and it's an active area of research. In your survey, you can see there's a section called animated transitions. Yeah. So it's an active area of research as well.
It's so interesting to find extremism in animation, like it feels like animation.
It's I can understand both sides of the argument. Any other questions?
I've been asked about your topographic features.
Yeah.
So you have the Thames River,
Yeah.
and then it seems to be that most of the time they get pushed along the Thames, basically,
Yeah.
and out. Once they pass the end of the Thames, what stops them going south? I just noticed, well, the
Yeah.
screen kind of cut out. I was following one of them, and the screen cut out just because I wanted to see where it went. Because you couldn't tell then, which ones are north of the Thames and which ones are south of the Thames at the end of it, because they all kind of stick out beyond the end of the Thames, it seems to be.
Yeah, that's true. We every time we just test for the intersections based on the river segments. So if the region have been pushed out of the boundary, they won't test for the intersection because there's no river.
So basically it can go south
Yeah.
almost then.
So actually we have another options for that. So at the very beginning, when we test for the intersection, we just test the distance between the central point and to the river. So we can enlarge the river.
Yeah, almost like a line.
Yeah, back to with this line. But in that case, we found this outer regions is keep pushing up and down. It's not have no related with this previous position. So sometimes just maybe attributes be pushed up and down. So we choose another options that just test for intersection with the position, previous position and the current position connection line. So yeah, so if it's out the boundary, we never test on that.
That's correct. That's correct. You could also add, it's theoretically, you can just say yes, it is theoretically possible that a CCG goes around the river from the north and then ends up on the south. Although you didn't observe that in your actual experiments, it is theoretically possible.
Yeah.
And then I would say that one of the reasons for that is because there's no definition of topology beyond the river. It's just because there's no definition of topology beyond the river. And that's just the way it is. You could also say it's an area of future work. It's an area for future investigation. Catch all again. Yeah. But it doesn't make any sense. The Thames River has a finite extent. So boom, that's it. Why would you extrapolate the Thames River? Or you're introducing very questionable topology if you try to extrapolate the Thames River or something.
That would be very subjective kind of thing. It would be a decision that is not based on.
The idea of having the river in the first place was some features say, okay, I know that I'm north of the river all the time, but then if it goes beyond, you kind of lose, okay, I know I'm one of the ones north, but the ones over here, are they north or are they south, isn't it? So you kind of lose almost for the...
Well, at least you know they're by the river.
Yeah, but not necessarily when they go beyond.
But what you can say is that if you're I would imagine that the river is one of the possible topological features that you might focus on. So if one is actually pushed below the river outside, that's probably not your main focus because it's not directly, it wasn't one of the closest ones to the river, right? It must have been one of the edges that got pushed down.
Yeah, at least they're close to the river. I mean, it might be right above the river and then just kind of move back.
I don't know, it just seems like in that case you would use maybe some other feature to analyze that section there.
Well, the idea of the river is to try and have increased recognizability of the where they should not belong.
Oh no, yeah, I'm just saying that the one that pushed out probably didn't matter.
Well, if that's your one, it does matter, isn't it? If you live there, then
it's all on the east side. I don't know anybody there.
Yeah, if you get caught up on that, just say it's an area of future work, future investigation. I mean, that's a long that could be a long discussion. That question.
Actually, we did need some future work to to do some a case study on the performance of typological preservation algorithm, because we actually don't know whether it's how can it help the user to increase the recognizability of the cartogram. So we really do need some more feature work on this topic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Any other questions?
No. Good.
What would you say your contributions are? Your thesis, your PhD thesis contributions?
Yeah, that question is quite huge.
Can that include the papers?
Yes.
Like what the papers contributed?
Let's see what Chao says first, because this is a very typical question.
Yeah. I would also think about this question, but it's really hard to answer. So the contribution of my thesis is firstly present some. Oh, I can remember something. When we did the cartograph tree map, we do some surveys, search on the cartogram and the tree map, and we categorize those based on the space filling, hierarchical, multivariate, or some neighborhood preservation, and we checked box whether those papers fit all those categories, and no paper fits all this category quite well, but we think our project fits that area. When we try to introduce the time variage, we go back to look at all those papers. None of the paper include any time variage, so we think combine the time variage with the geospatial information and with the tree map is also another contribution. And when we talk about the cartogram with the topological features, we look at the other cartograph paper, and no paper include some other geospatial information like the mountains or rivers. So we thinking by introduce those features. By introducing those features, we can help the user to increase the recognizability of the cartogram. So I think this is also another contribution. Should I talk about the contribution of the survey? So by analyze the narrative visualization, the storytelling papers, we can classify them in two different kind of tables and figure out the future research area by analyze those by do this survey. So we thinking this is another contribution. Yeah.
Good. You can give a simple answer if you want. By the way, in your presentation, you often referred to 3 projects.
Yeah.
I would say you did 4 projects, because your survey is a project as well.
So yeah.
So you think of that, I would call that
software
first.
projects.
Yeah.
3 software projects.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can say your contributions are a survey of narrative visualization.
Yeah.
You introduced cartographic tree maps to the world.
Yeah.
You extended them to time-oriented
Yeah.
cartographic tree maps, and you introduced cartograms with topological features. That's it. You have four contributions.
5 papers.
And you have a slide, I think slide 2.
Yeah.
It's called thesis structure.
Yeah.
I would change that to thesis contributions. You know, those are your contributions right there.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll check later.
Yeah. Okay,
Sorry.
I think Liam asked that question.
No, it's
Computer, no?
no, my computer turned off because no battery.
Good, good. One question that you are probably gonna get is about the color.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know exactly what the question's gonna be, but I would prepare a slide for this. I've written down, like, what color mapping options did you explore? But I don't think that's gonna be exactly the question. The question's gonna be something like, are you sure you have a good color map? Or something like that,
Yeah,
or how did you choose your colors? Something like that.
Yeah.
So, what's your answer?
I can actually create a slide for that, but yeah, as I can remember, I choose the color map from different sources. For example, from the paper, or from some like the Cartograms website, and they provide some good example for 14 different colors, and we combine the colors with different gradient options, like the linear gradient or the circle gradient, and try to present all those color map to the users and ask the user which like the user to choose what they like. That's good.
Yeah, that's not bad. That's not bad.
But I can
Like a perfect answer would be something like, the color map is not one of the main contributions of the thesis. Therefore, we simply looked in the literature and the existing software to try to borrow existing color maps and get color map recommendations. So you looked at the QGIS software, you looked at Color Brewer, you looked at the color map in Alex Talaya's book, and you looked at Colorgorical, and you looked at all these different sources for color maps, and you experimented with those and included those in your thesis and in your software. Like that. Okay. Any other?
I have some comments. As a classic lean comment, your headers weren't lined up. They changed. So I get that out of the way. The other comment, it was half an hour. I thought it was supposed to be like
Yes,
10
your presentation was very long.
Yeah, because I show all the videos. Yeah.
I would recommend just skipping the time-oriented cartographic tree maps video. You can show it during the question and answer period if you want.
Oh yeah, that would be a good background to have.
But maybe just skip it.
Well, that was part of the thing. You were waiting for the video a lot of the time, and just like we were all kind of just like looking, waiting for the next part. So you need to be, if you're not talking, you should just move on to the next part you want to talk about, because that kind of fits in.
Could you do something like, you put the video on that screen, and you got the presentation in front of you, and while the video goes, you can just keep talking about your thing.
That was the idea, but it was just Chao was waiting for the next part so we could talk about it.
Oh, right, that's
Whereas if I was in that situation, I would try and just skip to the next part that I want to talk about, so there's no empty space.
I see.
I recommend skipping the time-oriented video.
Yeah.
To save some time there, no pun intended.
I don't have any more comments other than that. That was about it.
I've written some other questions here, but since we've been here for so long, I'm getting tired. Just have a look. I've written, why geospatial visualization?
Yeah.
for example? Do you have a quick answer for that? Like, why did you work, why is this a theme? Like, why is that interesting, geospatial?
One answer is that the original data has the NHS character is based on the city regions, and they have some simple visualization about the data, but they don't know how to combine. There is no other option to combine those informations. And we think combine it with the geospatial information will help the user to figure out some patterns based on the geospatial information. And also, as I said, for the survey part, the geospatial visualization I need some more research. Yes.
Perfect answer, well done. But yeah, you go back to the original data and say there's no geospace in their preliminary experiments, and it's a challenge. It's a challenge. Like how we thought we'd address this challenging question: how do we incorporate the geospace into this big multivariate data set? And you may want to add a slide about Public Health England in there, in the data, maybe, because that sort of overlaps with this question: why geospatial this? Yeah. I'm not going to really go through these in detail either, but did you get domain expert feedback? You want to be prepared for that question.
I can correct the slide for that. Well.
I would have this question too, like, why did you approximate the river and not use the original? That could be a question.
Actually, I think about this question.
Good.
Because the real river is because our software is based on our cartogram is based on the central point. We may not use the original map. We just convert the original map into the central point. So we don't think the real map will quite fit for our project. Also, we think the topological rivers may a little bit easier for analyzed, for tested, because it's not too the shape of the river may be kind of linear, so we can easily test for the river intersection. So we choose for the topological feature.
That's correct. Yep. You can say it simplifies the computation, the intersection tests, and it's a higher level of abstraction that matches the cartogram, which is also a higher level of abstraction.
Yeah.
That's another way of saying the same thing what you just said.
Yeah.
So yes, those are correct. Those are good answers. Okay, I'm tired. Your Viva might be longer than that, by the way. But if you have the answers prepared to these questions, you will be very well prepared. There will be other questions that we didn't think of, but that's very good preparation.